Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this YouTube channel, Hiie Somatics. My name is Hiie Salma. I'm a specialist in somatic movement and healing arts. And today's guest is a very special healer, dancer, and a dance therapist, Tricia Lee. Welcome so much. Thank you so much for coming to to join us here today. So some more words about Tricia. Tricia is originally from England, but now has lived in Australia for many years. Is a healer and a qualified reflexologist. Has trained in Reiki and body massage, and is mostly working these days in the realm of the divine sacred, the emergence of the divine sacred feminine. You will correct me on this more carefully yourself, I think. So welcome, Tricia. Do you want to add something about your background with movement and dance?
Oh, thank you, Hiie. It's beautiful to be here. First of all, I'd just like to honour the land that I am dancing on at the moment and honour the saltwater people, the Pibbleman Wedandi people. I dance on Pibbleman Wedandi Buja, and I honour and respect the traditional custodians of this land. So thank you and welcome to my country here now. Yes, we've talked, and my journey has been rich and continues, and it's a joyful connection that we've made through the Sacred Dance Guild, which has been a big part of my life since I think 2008. I first went to the States to dance in at conference. They have, a festival. They used to have an annual festival, and so I went and danced there. I think it was the 50th, actually. And I've been a member of the Guild ever since, and I'm now co-vice president, and we're working on the legacy project and the accreditation and training programs for future sacred dance teachers. So this is where my journey has brought me, and part of what I work with is sacred healing dance. And so that takes me across many different platforms, if you like.
Thank you, Tricia. As I was listening to you, I realized you mentioned earlier also that life has taken you from one place to another, and you lived in many different countries and settings. And I was thinking, wow, it makes so much sense that we have gathered today to talk about the feet and the foundation and the base, because for somebody who moves around a lot, it's always a challenge of, I need to find my feet again on this land. How do I connect to this land, to this particular country, to this particular setting? So let me ask you this. Today's episode is dedicated to the foot and foundations and alignment that comes to us from the bottom up. So how does this connection to the feet manifest itself in your work as a dancer, as a healer? What do you do with feet?
Well, I always start my practice and with my students with a sacred body blessing. So the first thing is to make the connection of the body as a vessel for sacred energy. And as part of that, we bless the feet, we bless the hands, we bless the feet, and we bless Mother Earth, we bless the celestial energies. So I'm very I love ritual, and so that is one of the rituals that I include at the beginning of my dance sessions. Sometimes we'll do it with like a fragrance oil or a pomander, the Aura Soma pomanders. I work with the healing fragrances. So sometimes we will put that, through the auric field as well as into Mother Earth and through our beautiful limbs and physicality.
And so you touch the feet, you like make like a massage also for the feet as part of
When
that ritual?
we wouldn't necessarily massage the feet at that point, because usually we're standing up. So if I'm working with a group, we'll usually be in circle, and primarily I'm working with women, occasionally an odd man here or there, but usually I'm working with groups of women in circle. And so, yeah, we bless ourselves head down, and blessing every cell of the body, and then down to the feet. And we spend time just honoring the feet and the connection with the earth, and then bringing the energy back up and to the celestial energies. So,
And then the movement classes that you teach and practice, are those done barefoot mostly?
yes, yeah, I do. Obviously, if people have orthopedic needs for shoes, then yeah, that's important. That's also, we did have a lady on the last Bali dance retreat who had to wear her shoes. I found myself worrying in a way that she wasn't receiving the same that the rest of us were receiving, but you can't mitigate for those circumstances, and sometimes people need to have shoes. And I have worked with people who can't stand, who can't use their feet, people who are in wheelchairs, or people who yes, don't have that facility. So there has to be flexibility, but still, if possible, the barefoot on the earth, we're kissing the earth when we dance. And we receive energy. The souls, in the Divine Feminine, we talk about the soul of the foot connecting with the soul, the inner soul of the body, and also the soul of the earth. So through our feet, we connect with, the deep Mother Earth energies, and they come up through the feet. And this is also part of Chinese medicine, that the yin and the yang, they rise and they rise from down and fall up. So it's compounded by the studies that I've done with sort of Qigong and Tai Chi and Chinese medicine, and reflexology was my first doorway into Chinese medicine, really, I guess.
Oh, that's so fascinating. I have already a bunch of questions based on your last comment. Maybe I'll start with this. So when you dance with a woman, like what kind of surfaces are good for barefoot dancing? Do you actually, for example, go outside and dance barefoot outside, or inside? And if inside, like what kind of ground is good for the feet and dancing?
Well, I think natural speaks, so if you're indoors, like in Bali, we have a beautiful studio, an upper floor studio, which has a beautiful wood floor. And I think, most dance studios have a wooden floor, and that, the timber of the trees is there beneath our feet. And there's no windows in the studio. You're just open to the environment when we dance in Bali, and you have the mountain and the trees, and it's very, very beautiful. Here I dance on the beach because I'm on the coast, and I love the sand under my feet. I also dance in the ocean, and that sort of takes your feet off the earth. But I've danced in the forest, and this was part of my moving about. I don't think till I moved, I guess, where you've grown up, your feet, you just take it for granted. I didn't have the consciousness then of the power of the earth. You feel attachment to places and to energies, but I don't think I really understood until I came here to Australia, and I've lived in the wheat belt, and I've lived up north in the raw sort of red earth countries with the indigenous people. I've lived in the forest with the beautiful, beautiful tall trees, and now I live at the beach. So I have been moved around on different platforms to experience the healing energy of the earth. And the longer I've been here, the more I've realized and opened up, I suppose, to that innate power, healing power of Mother Earth, and our need to honor that.
Oh, I think that's so powerful what you said about the different landscapes and the different surfaces that the feet touch. Do you think the landscape that we grew up on influences our feet and really shapes our feet and what we take in through the ground. For example, I'll give you an example also. One of my friends here in Paris comes from Tunisia, and when I look at his feet, I'm so amazed because I've never seen such flexible feet before, like his toes and the sole of the foot. Like he can do things with his feet that I cannot ever. And he said, I said, well, how is this possible? And he said, it's because he grew up in the desert and he used to run and
No.
walk barefoot in the sand all the time. I don't know if you have also noticed. So the first question was, do you think that the land or the terrain influences our feet? And then I think the second question I would add to this right away is that you, as somebody who has lived or touched with your foot all these different surfaces, do you notice in your feet also that they change according to the land or the ground that you touch?
I think they do. I don't really think I've documented that in detail, but I know when I go back to my homeland, to England, there's a settlement in me that I know that I'm home. There's something energetically there that I didn't realize when I lived there, that when I go back, I now recognize that energy coming up from the earth. And I'm very much, I don't like, I struggle being in cities and busy places. I guess I've got used to wilding, and so that yeah, that it's not just through the feet. Like when I lived in the forest, I learned to then absorb the tree language and the tree energies. So of course your feet do respond, and what I've noticed now, this is probably quite a general thing, as I'm getting older, my feet are getting bigger. I always had quite well, not dainty, but I've got a high arch and quite sensitive feet, but I feel they are broadening, which is lovely. I like that. I feel I'm taking a broader anchorage, particularly across the heart and chest. They're broadening there. So on the ball of the foot. So yeah, in terms of the reflexology mat, the heart and lungs are in the ball of the foot. And so when I feel that expanding, it's kind of like, oh, I'm growing here.
That's nice. So I somehow have a feeling that one of the things that you would recommend to us, the listeners, is to like take the shoes off as often as possible whenever we visit different, if it's safe for the foot, like there are no, like the surface is safe to walk on, which these days, I don't know, it might be hard for us to find also a lot of these surfaces.
Yeah,
You would say like,
I
okay,
think
take the foot off.
if you've got a garden, if you've got a garden, you can create a space in your garden, dancing on the grass, dancing under trees. It's got to be safe. It's got to be comfortable for your feet. Otherwise, the body won't relax. So, yeah. And yeah, if you're on a studio floor, then obviously you don't want nails sticking up out of your floorboards and things. So it has to be safe. But
Oh my God,
yeah.
I just had these flashbacks to my memories as a young girl in my grandmother's countryside home. And one of the favorite things for me to do was to walk about in the morning um, in the grass with the, what's the word, dew and like rain. So it was like grass and then rain, like it was so good for the feet. I love touching different surfaces with my feet, like the stones and the sand and the.
Mm. I think in a way the feet are a bit like a flower, and they're contained in shoes for our way of life. And particularly when you're in a city, you're in shoes a lot of the time. So when they get chance to come out of the shoes, it's like they open and breathe and they respond. And that, the soul to soul connection is enriched. I feel it's like soaking up compost, a flower soaking up if it's given compost. So
Yeah. And I also really feel like our movement practices have the ability to change I don't know if necessarily to change the foot, but to change our awareness of the feet also, and to increase the sensitivity of our feet. For example, I remember there was one period in my life where I used to do a lot of yoga. Like every night I had like an hour and a half of yoga. And I remember during that time, my awareness of the feet really changed. Somehow I was like breathing in the sole of the foot, through the sole of the foot. And I had a different connection to the ground because of the movement practice that I did. And then when I stopped that, I also felt like I lost some of that sensitivity in the foot too. So what is my question based on this? I don't know. Do you believe in that also, that the movement practices that we engage in also can change how we relate to the base?
I think they do. And I think through, like I've been doing Qigong and Tai Chi for nearly 30 years now, and that the wisdom that has come through again from that medicine model has made me really conscious of that flow of energy, and in a way that I wasn't before. So as a practice, that has done that. And yet, if you look at different dances, like if you do, I've done some flamenco, I've done oriental dance, I've done, I grew up with ballet and tap. So all of the different movement um, experiences, the dance styles that we use, I think all have a different message for the feet and for the body. And I think you are guided to what you need at the time. I really do believe that, because I know when my father died, I was deep in grief, and that kind of really affect the feet. And I got the opportunity to do flamenco, and that really empowered me and lifted me in a way beyond the grief. It helped me to express the emotions. So I do think we have a journey with movement and dance and the earth, and that if we allow that, teaches us and provides for us, it gives us healing naturally.
Mm. Tricia, is there a story behind how you got fascinated by the feet in the first place? Did something happen, or how did you, for example, what made you study reflexology?
Well, I was a young mum in a little village in England, and I had two young boys. And I had an older friend, and she said, "You need a reflexology treatment." And we had a reflexologist in the village, and she paid for me for my birthday, I think, to go for a reflexology treatment. Well, it just blew me away. It was just so amazing. I was just captivated. And so I would go perhaps once a month for a treatment. And then when I knew I was coming to Australia, which we first came in 1989, I was living within easy traveling distance of a school for reflexology. And I thought, I need to train now and take that with me. So I did my training as a reflexologist before I left England, with a beautiful lady called Angie Landers. And this is her chart, the British School of Reflexology. And it's traveled with me ever since. I've taught lots of people reflexology, but it just, because the feet spoke to me, I don't think I had that cognition of how powerful the feet were until I started receiving and then studying and then practicing and sharing on. And, that has taken me into many different arenas. I've worked with it at end of life. So we work with blessing the feet at the end of life with sacred oils, like an anointing, because the feet have the stories of everywhere they've ever trodden. And one thing you can do, the memories, is to cherish those memories, with a family member, with a loved one. It's part of letting go of the body so the soul can depart. So that's probably the most powerful journey that I've been given through reflexology.
Yes, I love all these comments. Also, for example, this last one about the connection between the soul and soul as SOUL.
Mm.
If you want to say more about this, because it's kind of language specific. For example, in Estonian, we don't have that. that connection, soul and soul.
No. Well, that came through, as you know, I have received some divine feminine manuscripts that came through from Demeter. I didn't have that wisdom, and she said about the earth and the soul, and the soul connecting the soul of our soul is as the earth's soil. That was what she said. And through the soul, we connect with the earth's soil, and that connects our soul to the soil. So this sacred earth connection became very significant for me.
I find this all very fascinating, because what you have that a lot of people don't have is this understanding of the foot. Well, the entire body, but the foot as a sacred part of us, something sacred. The foot as sacred. I love the rituals, for example, that you do with the feet and give to the feet. Wait a second, there was something else I wanted to ask. Well, Tricia, in my work with clients, I see that oftentimes we tend to ignore parts of the body. If they're not aching, kind of, we don't need to pay attention to them. And once we start developing problems, then we start to listen and pay attention to these parts of the body. And I think the feet is another area like this. Like, if they're not hurting, everything is more or less okay. Okay, then that's fine. Let's work on the biceps or the back or the other parts of the body. Let's dance, let's do other things. So how would you convince, because, for example, a lot of the foot exercises that we can do are small, and they take time and attention, and it feels like, oh, but I'm not doing so much. I need to do more so that I feel the benefits of my workout, so to speak. So how would you convince somebody like this who says, well, I don't have the time, or what's the benefit, or why should I pay attention to healing the feet and connecting to the feet, and developing a sacred or body aware connection to the feet, if there's nothing really wrong with the feet?
Well, I would suggest that they spend a day in a wheelchair without their feet, without being able to use their feet, without being able to stand up, that yes, the feet support our mobility and support our freedom and give us many, many gifts and blessings, whether it's dancing, whether it's, queuing for a bus, whether it's, walking to work or doing a marathon. Without the feet, where are we? I have, and my first job was working in a school for special needs students, and a lot of them couldn't walk. So doing dance with special needs students, that's a different challenge, and they rise to that challenge, but still, it's a very, very profound reminder of what a blessing it is to have feet, to have a body, full stop, to be incarnated at this time, to have hands. But without the feet, then we have a different way of mobility. And I'll just tell a quick little story here, because
Yes,
one of my ex-students who had polio, bless him, and so, he didn't have walking ability. He ended up teaching wheelchair basketball, and he's now big in England and training and globally. And it's just like, wow, not Gravinda, that's Jaspal, that's just amazing that you did that, though you couldn't do basketball like everybody else. So I'm not saying that, it's not essential to have feet that work, but the feet are just amazing. They're a mystery, and they contain so much connectivity, and they're a part of our body miracle. And I think the deeper you go into that relationship, then you become aware of, we are living, breathing miracles, the body, the physicality of our being, the emotional aspect. It's very strong.
And listeners, something very small can happen to the feet. For example, like you hurt your toe or something happens to a toe or
Mm,
even just the nail of the toe and you immediately feel this. It's like much more difficult to walk and get about. Doesn't even have to be a big injury. Me, myself,
yeah.
I had Achilles tendonitis on both of my legs. And for a year and a half, if not longer, it was very difficult for me to move about. Like I had to rethink each step, basically. Like how much do I walk each day? Where do I walk? What do I wear as shoes?
And
Yes.
how did you feel about that? How did that affect you emotionally and mentally?
It was part of a big crisis moment in my life. So I had to, the bigger significance of that moment was that I had to really sit down because I wasn't able to move about too much. And I had to
Mm,
rethink my entire life and I had to rethink where I am going with my feet. Like what is the direction of my life
the
in general? And I
direction.
had to adjust my path to a different
Mm,
route. And so during
mm,
that time, I changed. I was working on my PhD at that point, and so I actually changed my dissertation topic. I started to practice and teach somatic movement arts, and I started to read about movement. So it was my feet guided me to a whole different chapter of my life.
that's lovely.
Very
Thank you.
difficult. But during that time also, I remember so I did a lot of what saved me really during that time. I'm sharing this because then maybe some of the listeners will feel inspired also. I wasn't really able to move about, but so much as I was before. And before I was doing a lot of really intense physical activities also, like kickboxing and so gym practices that were more
Mm.
mainstream. And so I had to cut all of that because I woke up in the morning every day and my feet were hurting so much and my legs, I wasn't really able to move. And so I sat down and I discovered Kundalini yoga. And a lot of Kundalini
Mm.
yoga practices are actually, or the exercises, the sets are done in a seated position. I was like, oh, there's something I can do as in turn for to keep connected, to keep myself connected to the body as my feet and legs are healing. So I recommend to the listeners also, maybe there's something else that you can do to stay aware of the body and move, even if the feet and the legs are in a position where they need to rest for a while. And then I also remember once I felt better and I was able to go to dance classes, after each class I took, I don't know, 30 minutes to like massage the feet and the calf. And I did a lot of Reiki actually. I know that you're
Mm.
a Reiki practitioner also. Maybe you can tell us about this. And I felt like, wow, my legs, they really respond to the healing power of my hands. It was amazing. I was like, this can't be happening, but it's happening. Just by holding my hands on the calves and the Achilles, I felt like there's something powerful that happened during those moments.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's just so true. The body has this self-healing ability, and the feet anchor us to a beautiful reality, naturally.
Yeah.
And cherishing them. I would recommend everybody have a foot spa, and they use the foot spa, and they caress their feet and look after the physicality of them, because yeah, I have a foot spa every night before I go to bed. It's really great if you don't sleep well. A foot spa with lavender oil or something like that is a great relaxation and a great way of saying thank you to your feet for carrying you through the day, wherever you've been, whether you're washing around Paris or whether you're trekking in the bush or climbing a mountain, or it's, the feet are there, our foundation.
Yes. Maybe you can tell us more about the either your own rituals, in addition to the foot bath every night, which I'm going to take up also. I do it sometimes, but not every night. So I'm going to be inspired by the speaker today.
Hmm.
Uh, any other rituals, or maybe also like practices or something with hands massage, or maybe from reflexology? What are some of the practical things that
Mm.
we could do to develop the awareness of the feet and attend to the health of the feet?
Well, in attending to the health of the feet, you're attending to the health of the whole body. And the one key spot that I recommend everybody learn and work on, and you can do it on your own feet, is under the fleshy ball of the foot, midway here, which is like underneath toe 2 and toe 3, is the reflex for your solar plexus, which is here, under your rib cage there.
Mhm.
And that would be the most important point for relaxation, for good digestion. If you've got tension here, your body will not digest the food, and poor digestion leads to other more serious illnesses. So if you just do one thing for your feet, it's to massage your solar plexus. And it can be sore, like it can be sore here. I'll get my foot up. It can be sore here, if it's got tension in it. So that is one of the most important things. The other self-massage that I do is like the brain is in the tips of the toes. So if you've had a really frantic, busy thinking day, then if you massage the ends of the toes, it helps release that mental stress and energy there. It helps release it down. The adrenal gland sits on top of the kidneys as it does. And that's also another point to work to learn, that you can learn to just massage anti-clockwise. So you're winding it backwards, so that it releases the adrenaline stress from business, and where you're working full time and rushing around, and if you're a mom and you're cooking and you've got children, and life is very, very busy. And so I think at the end of the day, just a little bit of time to say thank you to yourself and to help yourself rebalance and release helps restore you for the day the sleep that you want, and the day that's coming next.
This is beautiful. I know a lot of people also have like sleeping problems. So something like this,
Mm.
I think it would be relaxing also for that. That's
Mm.
great. Is there anything else? Maybe there's an exercise that you could recommend that we do, maybe for balance every day or something?
Yes, balancing. I encourage my students when to ground their feet, and the circling on the feet, keeping the joints flexible, so your ankles, your knees, your pelvis. If you move your feet, then that moves your joints, and so that's I recommend that. But there's one that I teach, and it's coming up onto the balls of the feet, which
Mhm.
I'll just do it. I'll move my chair back, see if I can do it. So coming up onto the balls of your feet and then pounding down on your heels. So
Oh,
with weight, so you can do it up and down. You can do it with vigor and expand your chest. But coming up on the balls of the feet helps energize the heart and chest. So it's really good for keeping the heart healthy. But coming down on the heels, we have our large intestine in the heels. And, getting rid of the waste products, letting go, pounding out what you don't need is also really, really a gift of the feet, that we can use that regularly. So if anybody does suffer with like constipation or sluggish bowel or anything like that, those simple exercises are good for heart and lower body bowel and things. So
mm.
that's balance for me. I think that's part of balancing, your holistic physicality as well as the associated emotional connections.
Do you do these exercises every day? Do you recommend that we
I
do these
do.
every day?
I do. I do. I well, I have a morning practice, which I do it. I call counting my blessings. I do certain moves, and then I'll send energy out to my family and my friends, and I'll bring energy in that I need. So working with your intention. and using movement for that. And I try and recommend that all my students do a morning practice. It's just a body blessing. It's a coming into the day, greeting the day, and also an evening quietening, gentle, relaxing practice. So it might only be 5 or 10 minutes, but that's better than nothing. And I think that's the thing we have to get over. Sometimes we think, oh, I haven't got time. Well, you know what? You do have time, because it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's better to do a few minutes every day, perhaps, than an hour once a week. That's my personal practice anyway.
And during these, for example, morning practice sessions, what do you do? Because I think a lot of people watching this this episode would be saying things like, I can hear them say this quietly in their head, but what can I, like, I don't have any ideas. Like, what do I do? Do I stand? Do I dance? Do I move? Do I move my arms? Do I do something different every day? How would you give somebody like this, like a starting point for developing their own morning ritual, let's say?
Well, I would say, like, have maybe a regular thing that you do every day. Like I do, bringing in, I do radiant chi out to the world. I bring energy in for what I need. So I'll do that one every day. But then I'll also listen to my body, and that's part of, and my heart. And if I feel like skipping, then I'll just skip. If I feel like throwing my arms around, so I think we need discipline, and we need creative opportunity to listen to what your personal needs are. We can all develop a practice and do what we're told, but we also need to listen to the soul, and what is the soul want to do. And sometimes the soul just wants to go, yay, rally, 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 and skip around, and that's good, and needs to happen. I think we need to release the pressure of too much discipline, of what you must do and how it should be, and start deepening your connection with your body and allowing the body to express its own emotional needs, and its emotional field, and its spiritual connections. So I think we need both of those.
Discipline and creative expression. That's wonderful. And I also, as I was listening to you, I realized, and like something like a morning ritual is also a foundation for the day, like the feet for the day, so to speak. And it
Mm.
is something powerful that then guides, even if it's 5 minutes, you set the tone for the rest of the day.
Mm.
Now,
I,
Tricia,
I,
go ahead.
yeah, yeah. No, if you start the day right and you end the day right, usually what happens in the middle is manageable. Not always, sometimes we get thrown a curly ball, and we're totally knocked off balance. Now, I was going to talk about grief and movement and that, but we'll come to that maybe later.
Oh, you can talk about it now if it's taking you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, just that I have done a lot of work with moving through grief, healing through movement, healing grief, because we talked about balance, and grief, deep grief, is one thing that can take your balance. It knocks you right over it, it knocks you off your feet. And so when my son died, I was totally, obviously, bereft, and I found myself taking to the earth, and I really was releasing to the earth. And I connected with, the ancient traditions of what they call keening. I don't know if you would have come across that. I don't know if it's a Celtic tradition, but where they wail to the earth. It's a funeral tradition, they wail to the earth. And I just found, if I surrendered to the earth, the grief, then I could rise up and the day could happen. And it was more effective than trying to, it was good grief. The earth gave me good grief. It allowed me to release and surrender. And then I could rise up and do everything else that I needed to do. So I think listening to the body's connection to the earth and the power of release that the earth offers us, as well as trying to, rise up and be up here, it's part of the balance that we are given in our human incarnation, maybe.
I think the comments that you made about events such as grief that knock us off the feet, I think is so relevant for many of us. On this YouTube channel, for example, I have interviews also with the president of the same organization that you belong to, that the two of us belong to, Sacred Dance Guild. Interviews about heartache, for example, grief, losses of different kinds. And I had a little follow-up question to you about this when you were describing the moment in your life, the time in your life that you had to grieve a lot, uh, and found this connection through the ground. Did you take yourself off the feet, so to speak? For example, you were lying on the ground, you were rolling around on the ground, or were you on the feet?
I wasn't on the feet. No, I
You,
was. I was down. I was like in child pose. I was down on my knees. I was on the earth. Yes, yeah. Sometimes curled up, sometimes on my knees. I just took it to the earth rather than trying to hold myself up. And
yes.
I've done a lot of work here with bereaved women, and yeah, that often it's a time when accidents can happen. There's vulnerability, and that's the whole balance field, the physical balance is affected by the emotional balance is skewed, I think, and so is a hazard. Can be a hazard, can be a risk that we can respond to by taking it down to the earth and then releasing it.
Yes, I want the listeners to hear this very carefully. The moments when we need to take ourselves off the feet rather than trying to hold ourselves up, I think it's very powerful. One of my recent experiences was like that too. I had a time that I had to spend in heartache, and I remember once I was in a dance studio, and I just had this like, I want to roll on the ground. I just want to be on the ground and off the feet. And I remember how powerful that moment was for me. I felt like the ground like took me into its arms, so to speak, that the ground was there to support me, and the ground told me, I love you. If that particular person claims that he doesn't, that's fine, because I'm here to take you and to take care of you and to love you. And I felt this, it was really amazing. I felt this like unconditional love that comes from the ground during those times. It was very powerful.
Yes. I also think, if we think about how Mother Earth composts things and turns it into nutrition and food. So whatever we give that might be in our spectrum of experience, described as negative. We tend to think of these things as negative.
Mhm.
They get recycled. The Mother Earth, has this beautiful ability to take compost, to take the waste and turn it into new plants, new nutrition. So I think there is a great parallel there with how Mother Earth operates and with how we compost our, the things that we're struggling with, maybe that have hurt us, that are painful, that we might want to reject, as it were. But
Yeah.
it's this magic of composting, I think.
I want the listeners to pay attention to this also, because I think some of us, or a lot of the times, we feel like, oh, but it's bad to give something that is a way to me to something or somebody else. So your comment about the idea that the earth has this like transformative quality is encouraging to us, because I can give my grief, my sadness, my weight to the ground. It's not something negative that I give to something that is holy. You see what I mean? Another parallel that I had as I was listening to this is it comes from my own like Estonian folkloric background. In Estonia, what we do sometimes is in moments of deep grief, we go to nature, we speak, for example, we find a peaceful place in nature and like we speak to a tree, we speak to a river, we speak to like what is it called? It's not a river, like a stream, for example.
Mm.
It's a similar idea of like I take my grief, I give my sadness to some place in nature, to nature, and then nature like does something with it. Yes. Well, we have
Yes.
moved to other realms, which is great. And maybe my last question is, in your work with the feet and foundation and things like this, have you discovered something about balance and foundations and alignment in a metaphorical sense that you want to, metaphorical, metaphysical, spiritual sense that you want to share with us also? Maybe even something like, do you follow your feet in your day? Like, okay, I think my feet have more knowledge, that have a lot of knowledge. So let me see where my feet are taking me rather than let me think carefully where I should go. I don't know. Any comments about these other more spiritual ways to think about feet?
Well, I do think that yes, your feet carry you to places that you might not have imagined, but part of that saying yes to the feet, saying yes, okay, we will go to the beach rather than the supermarket, or um, we will go down to that particular part of the forest. Somehow the feet are responding to the earth call maybe, and know what your soul needs, and responding to that soul to soul connection, so that sometimes your head is not um, as soulful, and your logical thinking is not as sensitive to your inner soul needs. And I think as human beings, and particularly as women, we, our sensitivity and our need for some freedom to be intuitive rather than locked into the logical brain all the time. And I think the feet give us permission to take the road less traveled, to take a detour, maybe to take a day where actually you do not do da, 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 to fulfill this and this. You actually think, you know what, I think I'd rather this, or I need that space, or my feet are calling me to 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 a different experience. And for some reason, there will be some reason when you get there, some revelation, some dawning, maybe. You may take your journal and your art pad, and you may see something that has a significance that in your logical brain you didn't know. So maybe on that level, I believe in the power of the feet to take us some other place.
Yes. And also maybe in making decisions too. Like if I face a difficult decision, do I do this, then maybe I can take a moment to like envision these different paths and then see where my body, where my feet are taking me.
Mm. And doing you did your dances around Paris,
Yes.
which were lovely, and maybe, there were little moments when you thought, oh, I just actually need to feel this bit of space here between here and there, doing that little detour to a park, or to a little favorite place, or a place by the river. Nature calls us, doesn't it? That the buildings are fabulous, but nature calls our souls. And I think being able to respond to that, I guess that's what holidays are about for most of us. It's about being called to have the experience of a different environment, a different um, earth space for the feet, maybe.
Tricia, I have two more questions. I told this was the last one. I told you this was the last one, but two more in One is, would you agree with me? One of my favorite things to do with the partner is to actually to tend to the feet of this special person also. To me, that's a very soulful act to like massage the feet with care of somebody else. Would you agree?
I absolutely do. I love to, yeah, I love massaging feet, and I love the feeling that the relaxation that is transmitted. There's a surrender that happens when people put their feet up, and we talk about, you put your feet up when you relax. It's a deeper surrender somehow to when you put your feet up, then you really can let go of everything. It's trust, it's tenderness, it's love, it's cherishing, it's a soul to soul communion, I
Ah,
feel.
so this is very important also. So previously we were talking about like soul to soul, as from my foot to my soul, or from my soul to my foot, either way. But now we're also talking about like from my soul, soul, to another person's soul, soul, and so something like
Mm,
very powerful also.
mm, mm.
And
Well, the power in the hands, obviously, because if you can't work on the feet, the hands also have all the reflexes that we have in the feet. So, we have these healing points in the palms here. And so that connection of your hands to somebody else's feet, it's it's just magical. It's like it costs nothing, does it? It's time, it's love and tenderness, but it's free. It's fabulous.
it's free and it's simple and it's about connection and developing the senses, and it's for health and well-being of you and the other person, and
Mm,
it's time spent
mm,
together, intimacy,
mm,
things like this. It's very powerful. And then
mm.
my last question, is the very basic, simple question, which is, Tricia, what should we wear? It is so hard to for shoes. It is so hard to find comfortable shoes. What do you wear as shoes? Like, what is the actual clothing, so to speak, that you put over your feet?
Well, I guess I try and find something soft. I don't like anything and light. I don't like anything too heavy. I don't wear heels, but well, maybe occasionally if I have to go to an event, then I might wear something with heels. But it's been proved that high heels congest the toes, and that's where the lymph is for the breasts. So it's not good to wear high heels. So I would always choose flat shoes as a regular walking shoe, natural. If I can, I love sandals because I love the air around my feet. And fortunately, in Australia, you can wear sandals for a lot of the year. Um, yes, and colors that you love. Yeah, you need something soft and colourful. I have found nice shoes in France, actually. I did get some nice shoes in the summer when we were there. So yeah, I think you probably have favourite ranges. But yeah, something that's joyful for your feet, and there's nothing rubbing or nothing. Yeah, that they're very comfortable and can expand. You don't want to be cramping your toes. I think how we grew up and we had like these pointy shoes. How bad were they for the feet? So yes, and
That's
mm,
wonderful. I love the idea of joy for the feet also. Now,
mm.
Tricia, is there anything else that you want to add on this topic that I didn't ask you, but it's on your mind and your heart you want to tell us?
I don't think there's anything specifically on top. I did write a little sort of blessing that I'd like to share about the feet. So can I just share that before we finish?
You
So
can
it
also
was
tell us.
basically let
Mhm.
go
You can
on.
tell us if you want us to be in a particular position or.
Oh, for this, are
Yes.
your feet on the floor? just, or you can be massaging your feet. But anyway, it's just let your feet know that you love them, that you care and cherish for them. Let your feet have a voice. Let them help you express your emotions. Let your feet go out to play and have fun. Let your feet listen to the earth. And let your feet make space to drive your creative soul. Blessings for your feet.
Thank you so much, Tricia. This was beautiful. The blessing was beautiful. The entire conversation was so soulful.
Soulful.
Soulful. Yes, it was a soulful conversation. SOUL, soulful conversation, I thought. Where can people, I will find this, I will put this information below also in the information bar, but where can people find you if they want to come and talk to you further or take classes online or in person or find out about your writings, your work as a medium?
Well, my email, I guess, is a good point of contact. I don't I don't do Instagram or any of those kind of really social media things, but I do I obviously keep in touch through the Sacred Dance Guild. I don't have a website currently. I do on Facebook. I run Sacred Dance Community, which is a group page. So I use that. So if people have got events that they want to share, then they can find me under Sacred Dance Community. That's probably a good connection.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, dear Tricia. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Hiie. Thank you for the platform and for just connecting and wanting to, share the dialogue on our beautiful feet. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you. You're welcome. And thank you, listeners, also for being here. And you can leave us comments and questions below. And I hope you have a good time with your feet until we see each other in the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.